Hi everyone. We're upside down at the moment, so bear with. Here we go. There we go. Right. Let's just move these bits of tape out of the way. All right. Okay, so hey! First Lolabelle live. It was always going to be chaos to start with as the first one, but we're here. We're live. We're doing this. And hopefully the lighting is okay. I've been trying to set this up and things, as always, technical gremlins decide to come and stick their little beaks in and yeah, just get in the way. So anyway, we are going to be wrapping this little beauty today. So it is an Orbicular Jasper. Quite a funky little pattern. I've been holding this one back for a little while now, but I thought, you know what? Let's do it for the live because it's quite an interesting looking stone. So yeah, we're going to be using the copper square wire today, and we're going to be using the half round. So we'll just start getting ready, preparing things, cutting the wire, etc. So if you are watching us, or watching me, not us, but me live, then just drop in the comments, say hi, and let me know where you're watching from. If you're in the UK, then you know that, well, you probably know that we've got a bit of a heat wave going on at the moment. And my workshop is about 29 degrees at the moment, so it's a little bit warm, but I have got the fan on, so apologies if you can hear that blowing in the background, but I think I will melt if I don't put that on. Okay, so we're cutting our 4 bits of wire, nice copper square wire. So if you are obviously sort of learning to wire wrap or practicing wire wrapping and you're in the UK, I cannot recommend this stuff enough. Metal clays for you. The square copper wire is so nice to use. It's one of my favorites, hence why I use it so much. And we're going to be wrapping and connecting with our 0.4 mil half round from Rio Grande. Again, another really lovely wire to use. Such a shame that I can't get more from Rio Grande because they've got such a big collection of wires, but you know. Okay, so our 4 base wires are cut. So as always, just sort of straighten those wires out. If you are wrapping along, you know, just let me know how you get on throughout. Don't be scared to comment. It'd be really nice to sort of get a bit of chat going on. Okay, so let's get our half round, and we're just going to connect these 4 together. So obviously I'm in a slightly different orientation to my usual videos today, so I'm trying to kind of peer around my camera to see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're just going to connect all 4 of these wires up. I've got a couple of design ideas in my head that I am going to sort of contemplate as we go through this wrap, but obviously, as always, I don't like to work from a design. I genuinely try and sort of make each pendant a little bit unique. So we'll just see how this goes and how it comes together. All right, so I think that's probably about enough. So I have tested the sound on this one, so I'm hoping that you can all hear me. Hey everyone! Oh, getting some comments in now. Great. Hi everyone. Okie dokie. So I'm looking at 3 things at once at the moment, which is a really new concept for me. But hey, we're going to soldier on. So we're just going to trim off the excess on these little ends, and then just give everything a bit of a smush along the base. And just make sure it's all nice and tight and secure. So we've got our connection. So Mr. Screen, hi. However, 2026 said hi. Tella and Sarah, hey. So cool. Hi everyone. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. Be really nice to sort of see where people are. This is obviously Lolabelle's first, it's not obvious I suppose, but this is the first YouTube live that we've done. So hopefully things will be okay. Okay, so we are going to shape the base of the base wires now to fit the stone. So just gripping it with the flat nose pliers and then just pushing it with your thumb, getting that nice sort of angle. Just checking that everything is nice and tight. And then just straightening things up a little bit. So we've got that bend. Then we can bring our stone in. So with the stone, so like I say, we've got this Orbicular Jasper. We've got some nice little quartz details at the top and the bottom. So I think I want the quartz at the bottom so it can be seen when it's actually wrapped. We just bring it in. Oops, bring it in. And we're going to hold it so the point is just sitting into that angle that we've just created. And just scoot those wires around, just shaping to the stone. So it just cradles the stone. Before we do anything though, we just want to make sure that we've got something to secure the wire, secure the stone rather at the back. So we're just going to create like a little ledge, kick in the back wires just a little bit. So when we put the stone in, it just sits on top of them nice and snug. And then just pinching those wires around so they meet the top of the pendant. Just holding it between your thumb and finger. And then we're just going to grab the wires at the top and bend them into shape. So they'll come together at the top, nice and flush. And we have the first part of our frame set, which is great. Okay, so obviously we want to try and secure that now. So I'm going to go back to my half round wire. I don't tend to wrap using my half round wire off the spool, just because it becomes very twisted, very awkward. And then just laying it across the top of the wires. We're just going to bring it around now. Nice and gently, because we don't want this to, I'm going to jinx it by saying this, but we don't want this to twist. We want to keep it nice and flat. So the flat edge is going down against the wires. And we're just trying to get each wrap so it sits neatly next to the last. I'm going to do 5 wraps. 5 wraps. So we've got our 5 wraps. Before we go anywhere, we're just going to push them down and tighten them up. So we've got our long tail and our short tail. So the short tail we're just going to bring around like so. And then we're just going to hook that into one of the base wires at the back here. So chain those pliers, come out, and we hook it around. We just want to get it around here. So the stone is not fixed yet, so we can kind of push the stone out of the way a little bit, grab hold of that wire, and then just draw it up and around nice and tight. So it just locks it all in place. We'll do a few wraps like that just to make sure that the ends are all tied off. Just drawing it back up. And go one more. So if you are making jewellery, obviously making jewellery to wear, but if you're making jewellery to potentially sell at craft events and things like that, you always want to try and make sure that any ends are pointing towards your stone, so they're not pointing towards skin. So basically there's nothing to catch clothing, nothing to catch skin, so we're just going to push that end around, tuck it in, just going to push the stone out a little bit, and then smushing it down. Okay, so then we just make sure it's all nice and tight. No ends out. And if you do cut your wire a bit short and it's not quite behaving, you can grip it and twist it. So this one's been a little bit naughty, but that's okay. We can deal with that. Okay, so we have now got a secure bail, or secure setup for a bail. And we're just going to push these back down, squish everything in, and we're golden. Okay, we want to lock the stone in. We're just giving it that little kick in, so that front wire just sits slightly forward, and then same on the other side. Just bring it in. Oops. And then just give it a little kick forward. So the stone is now secure. It's not going to fall out of that wire. Then we're just going to separate our wires out a bit here. So what you'll see is you've got 4 wires to each side, obviously. We want to take the front most wire from each side. So just grab that and pull it forwards. And then from the other side, pull that one forwards as well. So you've got your 2 front wires. These are going to make up your bail. And then we're going to do 3 on each side. So we come out with the first 3, out with the second 3. So we're just moving everything out of the way. So you end up with this sort of weird sort of shape. And then we are going to take our half round wire and just wrap it around these 2. So again, we want to avoid this wire from twisting. So one of the ways I do this is I hold it quite tight between my thumb and my finger. It doesn't always stop it from twisting completely, but it does prevent quite a few twists. So we're just going to keep wrapping, build up our bail, and every so many wraps we're just going to push it down. All right then. So, oops, we're just going to keep wrapping up bail until we've got enough to hoop it over. So this depends on how high you want your bail to go. I tend to do a reasonably high bail just because it gives me space to sort of do swirls and details in the front of the pendant. So we just want to keep twisting this round. So guys, if you are watching live, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Be great to know who's here. Okay, so we're just going to keep wrapping until we get to the height that we want for the bail. Amazing. Okay, so we're getting close now, so you can see we've got quite a sort of reasonable amount of wound wire there, but we're just going to do a little bit more. Okay, and yeah, that's pretty much all we need. So you can see we've just got that nice sort of long wrap. What I'm going to do, flatten those pliers and just smush all the way up. So this just flattens the wire down, secures everything, tightens everything up. And there we go. So we're ready for our bell making pliers. How big you do your bell is entirely up to you. So I really like these bell making pliers because you've got sort of six different sizes that you can do essentially. So I tend to sort of stick within the middle-ish, not too wide. I'm just going to hold and then just draw that wire around and in, and then pinch at the back. So what you've got is where these wires end, I always try and meet it up with where these wires begin. So then you get like this nice sort of flow through from one part to the next. And then I usually just hold those two wires and just give them a tiny bit of a kick out. So when they then sit at the back of the pendant, they are flush to here. Once you got that far, we are literally just going to finish off this half round wire and just guide it down the neck of the bell, or what I call the neck of the bell. I don't know what other people call it, but that's what I call it. And bring it down just as far as you want, really. So you can go down past where you've wrapped to, or where you've started your bell wires. And then once you've reached that point, again, just give it all a bit of a squish, tidy it all up. And then drawing these two wires that have come down the back now, I'm just going to lift them up slightly. Get my chain nose pliers and then swoop them down. We're just coming under these two wires. We're going to draw that wire up as much as we can so it sits flush to the base of those wires there. And then the same again. So I thought I'd start my first ever YouTube live with a reasonably simple wrap today. So far it's going quite well. And then once we've got those three wraps there, obviously that wire is now secured. We can remove the excess and pop it to one side. If you've got a reasonable amount of excess, it's always worth keeping them. Oh, the lights are going to fall off. It's always worth keeping them because you can use them to connect swirls or in other designs. So, you know, it's quite useful to keep them. Okay, so we've got the skeleton now of our pendant. I think what I'm going to do with these two wires, just to keep things simple, and because this is a marquise, I'm just going to swoop them around and just connect them at the back. I could do some swirls at the back here. I might do some swirls at the back here. I'm going to do some swirls at the back. Let's be adventurous. So all I'm going to do is pull them to one side. So they come around like this, and then this wire. So I always use my thumb to guide my swirls rather than using like a pair of round nose pliers or something, just because I feel when you pull the wire from its end, it gives you a slightly better and a more organic sort of shape. Right, I need to look in here. I'm just going to trim off a little bit of excess. Oops. And then coming in with my chain nose pliers, I'm just going to, can't actually see what I'm doing. Just going to swirl that in, tighten it all up a little bit. Now this pendant is going to be oxidized, and I think that will lift the swirly patterns out of the stone a bit more. Okay, so that is going to sit just like that, and I will connect it to the frame in just a moment using that half round wire. And then this one is going to go in the opposite direction. So it's just going to go around, keep pulling it around, and that will trim off the excess. And then we'll do exactly the same here. So we'll just grab that wire, grab it by the end and just turn it in, build that swirl up. And then I'm gonna pull that across a little bit more so they both fit within this space. Okay, tiny bit more. That's it. There we go. So then what we can do is, using that half round wire, we can connect these swirls to these wires. We don't need a massive amount of half round. So what we'll do is we are just going to kind of tease that wire up. Now if your back wire is tight against your stone, just get your flat nose plier in there and lift it a little bit rather than keep trying to sort of jam it around. So we're going to take that half round under the base wire and through the swirl. Hold the end. It's going to be hard for me to kind of see what's going on. So use your flat nose pliers and just feed that end back round under. This can be a little bit fiddly, but worth it. That little bit of extra detail on your pendant. And it's one of those things where, you know, doing something interesting with your back wires just gives the pendant something a little bit more, jazzy, a little bit more unique. Okay, so there we go. There's 3 around there. And then all I'm going to do is, I'm just not going to go through the swirl this time. I'm just going to come under the main back wire and just do 2 wraps there. It just locks it all in place. And then bring the end around. And pinch the end in. So it's just going to go down back towards the stone again, like we said. And then with this one, we're going to come around the back wire. So we're going to do one more around the actual loop, and then just feed it back in through that back wire. And again, just do a couple of turns there, just to tie off that end. It's amazing. Like so. And then this time we'll cut the wire on this side, pinch the end down there. And what you can do is, if you have got space, you can just go in and give them all a little bit of a smush from underneath the base wire. So you've got one swirl connected. Then we just do the same for this one over here. Again, just make sure it's sat in the right place. I'm just going to make sure it's all sitting flat. And then I'm just going to cut a tiny bit of my half round off because I've run out now. This is why it's good to do things like this as well, because then you don't get the wastage of your wire. I hate throwing wire away, certainly with the price of it at the moment, and certainly with silver wire. So obviously silver wire has increased quite considerably in price recently, which is why you'll see a lot more copper tutorials on my channel. Not because I don't do anything with silver anymore, but I do kind of reserve it for sort of special pieces or special stones. Just because the cost of it at the moment is just so astronomically high. So we're going to go again, same thing, draw that wire through a little bit, and then we're actually going to end up wrapping around two bits here, but we'll persevere, and I'll see if I can tighten that one up a little bit. There we go, that might work. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want to wrap around two parts of the swirl, so I'm just going to tighten that swirl up and then just go back in with the half round, so it's just going around the base wire and one part of the swirl. Okay, so this is where it gets fun, because we've got to now try and get the wire up into that gap. There we go. This is where your chain nose pliers do come in handy, because you can kind of help push and guide it a little bit more. I might change direction. Yeah, I think I might change direction. It's a little bit tight. So what I might do is just pull that through a little bit more. It is getting hotter in my workshop. It is just ridiculous how hot it is in here. Changing direction is not actually going to help at all, but let's just see if we can get a little bit of a kink on this wire. And then feed it in. Oh, you little bugger. You little bugger. See, this is the reality of lives though, isn't it, I think? Because when I do a long form video, I can go and edit it, take out the moments that look awkward, but not on a live. But there are some parts of wire wrapping that, you know, they are awkward. They are a little bit tricky, and we all deal with them. Right, I'm back here. Ooh, nearly knocked my camera over. Right, let's just reset my light. There we go. It's all going bloody wrong now, isn't it? Right, so we're gonna carry on. I'm just gonna lift these back up a little bit. This bit is probably one of the most awkward when it actually does come to what you're doing to make the back of the pendant. Essentially, you're making the back of the pendant, which no one really looks at, pretty, and it's the most awkward bit. But as I said earlier, it's worth it because it makes that pendant just a little bit more jazzy, a little bit more special, and a little bit more unique. Okay, so we're there now, we're there. My brain's kicked back in. Okay, so we'll just finish off these ends, tuck them in, finish off this one. Bring it up here. Now I love this stone. This was actually sent to me by Febby at Flintstone Studios. He sent it to me just to show me how stunning they are. I should really order some because they are very pretty, but the only thing that worries me about them is how dark they are. I think they are absolutely stunning. The detail is beautiful, but dark stones can feel a little bit heavy. So not everyone likes wearing the dark ones. So, but my customers always shock me and do the absolute opposite to what I think they're going to do. Right, so there we go. So we've got the back. Now we can kind of just sort of tidy and straighten the front. All right. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. So once you've kind of got to this point, this is where the fun really does begin, because what you do here is entirely kind of up to your choice, really. Hi, Kelly. Sorry, I did not see the comment come through, but hey. So what we're going to do is, I think we're going to do some texture on one of these wires, I think, on each side. So I think what we'll do is we'll do the middle on one. Crystal Lover, hey. So glad you could join us. Let me know where you are in the world, and if it's hot where you are, because it's hot where I am. Okay, so yeah, what I think we're going to do is get the Twizzler out. If you haven't got one of these, if you're wire wrapping and you haven't got one of these, I would recommend it, certainly if you use a lot of square wire, because they are great at putting a bit of texture on your wire. So all we're going to do is just pop the end in to the Twizzler. I have no idea what its technical name is, but Twizzler will do. And all we're going to do is just turn, and you can see that that wire is getting some twist texture to it. And you can do this as tight or as loose as you want. And what it does is it just gives you like this nice sort of bit of depth to the actual wire. And then I'll do the same on this side. I'll do the middle one again. So again, we'll just pop the end in and just twist. So these are on available on Amazon. What I'll do is when we finish the live, I'll actually go on to Amazon and get a link for it, so you can. I'll put it in the comments. So then, if you do want to get yourself a Twizzler, then you can. But yes, they are really, really. They do sort of allow you to do some really nice sort of textured details, and like you can do up the sides of the frame. So you could do one whole wire. You could do the front wires. You could do your bail like it if you wanted to and not have a wrap on it. You could do like two on one side, one on the other. So, you know, it sort of really does give you a slightly different sort of texture and way of working with your wire. Okay, so I'm just gonna have a sip of drink. And then we're gonna do some little decorative details. Okay, so here we go. Oh, what's happened to my computer screen? Let's have a look. So yeah, what we're going to do is, sorry, just my computer screen just went really mad. Hot where you are too, is it, Crystal Lover? Yeah, it's been quite a hot couple of days here in the UK. Right, so what we're going to do is, I think we're going to start with a bit of a swirly whirly, do a bit of a spiral. So what I'm going to do is this front wire, I'm just going to pull it across and in front so it just sits across the bail, and then I'm just going to pull it quite tight into a semicircle. Well, no, it's not a semicircle, is it? But into a tight little spiral. So it's just going to sit like this. And then what I've always found is if you pull from the end of the wire, you will get a lot more sort of natural movement from your pendant, from your wire, and it will curve in a much more natural way. So that's going to come down there. So you can see then we've got this little spiral. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that around to the back for a second and just pinch that in. So we're there. Right. Then what we're going to do, I think, yeah, I think I'm going to come with this curved wire. I'm going to sort of come around into a swooping sort of motion across the front. So it sits just down below that spiral. And then this one as well, I'm actually going to follow that line so it just sits on top of the twisted wire. So they're just going to sit nice and tight with each other there. Like so. So we've got the beginnings of a movement here. Nicely done. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it on this side a little bit. So I'm going to bring the twisted wire into a nice big hoop here. So we're just going to use my thumb. I am going to use my thumb just to kind of shape it around a little bit and then just draw it across. I don't want it to be exactly the same height as the other side. I like to have a little bit of change from one side to the other, and then obviously the same with the other one. So we've then got this almost like a heart coming up into the design like so. Now, the wire that I had around the back from the spiral, I'm just going to pull it around. So just trying to hold everything in place. I'm just going to bring it around so it just sits over these wires. I'm getting all jiggly now on my camera. Okay, so it's just going to hold those in place like that. So it just sits across the front. And then all I'm going to do is go to the back of the pendant, lift up this base wire, do it with flat nose pliers, lift it up, and then this wire is just going to curl down, coming in underneath here. We're just going to draw it through, so we're just locking it into place. We'll just get it up as high as we can on that frame, and then we'll just snip off the excess and draw that around, and then So where it's sitting over those wires, we're just going to try and pinch it in and lock it all in place like so. So it's just going to sit, as you can see, sit on that wire there. So these two wires are now, they're held in place, they're locked in place, they're not going to move anywhere. This wire that's up here, I'm just going to do, I'm going to kind of come underneath that spiral a little bit, hold it in place. I'm going to do quite a small swirl, just so it sits on the top of the bail. And then I'm going to bring it around so it comes underneath. Can't actually see, there we go, underneath. And then it's just going to follow that wire around. And then that's going to just connect in under there. So again, that's 2 wires dealt with. 2 down, 4 to go. And we're just going to, again, same way, we're just going to hoop it under, draw it around, get it as close and tight as we can without misshaping things. So I always keep my finger on whatever I'm doing at the front, I keep my finger on that wire so it just doesn't pull things out of the shape that I've just made. And then again, just get in there with your chain nose pliers, and pinch that end so it comes down. And then, okay, we're getting somewhere. So we've got our swirl, we've got our spiral, and we've got this heart shape. Now, this is where it gets a bit more interesting and a bit more mad fun. This is where it can all go terribly, terribly wrong. So what I want to do is I'm going to just shape those wires so they just come out and round. Now, you could do, if you've seen my videos before, you could do, if you had negative space at the bottom of your stone, you could do like an Art Deco style curve at the front. But for this one, we're not going to because we haven't got enough space there to do it. What I am going to do though is hold those wires with my thumb and my finger here. I'm just going to move this one out of the way a little bit. Lift up this back wire and then get my plain wire. And I'm just going to shape it down. Try and keep hold of it here so it doesn't all suddenly move. And then just tease that in so you've got a nice sort of curve there. Cut away some of your excess. And then hoop that end around. Oops, hoop that end around and squish it down. So then with your flat nose pliers, you can get in here. Just make sure that everything sits where you want. So then that wire is now locked and this one's going to sit next to it. So what we want to do is hold it, grab the end. Now because you've twisted this one, you've made this wire a little bit stiffer. But if you're using soft wire, it should, still, oh, it's gone all funny again. It should still move reasonably easy. But we obviously don't want to misshape it at this stage of the pendant. So we're just going to gently tease it around a little bit at a time and then lock it in. Just make sure it's sitting next to where we want it. And then again, trim excess off. And pinch it down. So we've got both wires locked in and we've got this big swoopy part on here. So it's just a bit of fun really, this design. I think it looks quite funky. And then we can do the same on the other side. So I always use move both wires at the same time when I'm doing this, just because it helps you to sort of get the same curved sort of shape. And then we're going to just sit them across. I'm going to trim off a bit of this excess before we begin, because otherwise it's just going to be a bit chaos. I'm just going to lift this wire up. Okay, so again, same thing, hold those wires. Obviously we don't need to hold the twisted one quite so much yet, but we will need to. And just bend it under, get that shape, holding it where you want it, and then just teasing it so it clamps onto that base wire. Put away your excess, and then just pinch and squeeze that one down. So we've now got that one in, and then we're going to bring the twisted one in and bring it up and around, hook it in, bring it in so it's as close to that wire as we can get it, and then just teasing it in, pinching it in, and then whoop, bringing it around. Beautiful. Okay, so that's locked in. So we have this sort of heart-shaped sort of detailing at the top. A little bit of a swirl. Now what I might do here is, I'll just see how it fits. We could put a bead in at the top. Let me see, let me think about it. This is the smallest bead I've got at the moment, so I'm a bit gung-ho. I might put it there actually. Yeah, I might put it there. That'd be different. Let's be different. Whenever I'm doing bead attachment, I actually prefer to use half round wire, just because it allows the bead to actually sit on it better. And then, oh, here go my dogs. My dogs are off. Hope you can't hear them. And then obviously we're just going to pop it in. Sometimes I do this and I get to a point where I'll change my mind, because I sort of think, well, is it going to work? Oh, they did so well to get this far into the live without barking. Bless them. I'll go through the gap, silly thing. Right, so is it going to work? This is the question. It's where I can attach it to more than if it's going to look good. I could just kind of wrap it into the bail, which would actually hold the spiral in place. But I don't want to impinge the chain. So if once we put a chain on it, is that going to sort of stop the chain from moving freely through the bail? Let's have a think. Let's have a look. I think we could probably, let's do it. Let's just do it. Okay, so we're going to basically just do a very, very simple, straightforward up and over, and just connect that wire to the bail. I'm just going to not use this ring light anymore because it's absolutely rubbish. Okay, so that's one done. And then we'll do the other side. Now what we can do with the other side is actually potentially See what kind of space we've got here. Yep, we can go underneath that swirl, which will just give us a lot more tidiness in the wrap as well. So we are just yoink, feeding it through underneath that wire. So we're going to be going live. Hopefully I haven't put everyone off too much today, but if we are going to be going live every other Wednesday to start with, just because I don't want to overkill. And then that will hopefully build, hopefully. For those of you who've joined me today, I am so grateful. Even if you have sat quietly watching in the background, you have been here and I appreciate that. So thank you. If you haven't subscribed and you want more wire wrapping sort of tutorials and how-tos and problem fixes, then just stick around with the channel. The reason I'm going to keep going around with this is because I don't want the end to sit up in the top part of the bell where the actual chain is going to go. So I wanted to just try and get that to come away from that area. So we've got that now. I'll just squish that end in. So all of that's nice and tidy. And then this one, I'm just gonna trim it and then feed it through like so. And that is the bead attached. So, bit of a different design. It was one of the ones that I'd had in mind, but I had two, so yeah, there we go. Oh, it's bloody light. So yeah, we are going to be going live every other week, every other Wednesday, 7:30. And just doing a bit of live wrapping really. So it's a bit of fun. It's a bit different on the channel. And I thought it would just be an interesting way to kind of just talk to people like you guys and spend some time doing something enjoyable. But no, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for spending the time with me. And thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. What do you think of that design? There you go. Got a chain on it now, so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. What do you think of that design? How do you think that's sort of come together? So it is a bit different. So whilst you're here, if you are here, we've got a few good tutorials coming up, in the next few weeks. Oh, Crystal Lover says, love it. Thank you. You are most welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the channel. Appreciate all of your comments and likes. Really sort of makes my day when people like and comment and things like that. So yeah. Gumnut Lane Jewellery is lovely. Oh, I'm so glad you could join. Nice to see you here. Thank you. It is a little bit different. I get it. It's a bit different. But yeah, it's kind of based loosely on this one, but this one's got a little bit more sort of detail on it. So on the channel, we've got some tutorials coming up. So this one was actually put together. So you can see it's got that same sort of pattern, but it's got 2 stones on it. So that's coming up in a few weeks. Yeah, we've got some really nice ones coming up. So yeah, hopefully you'll stick around to enjoy those. But has anyone got any questions, anything, any comments or anything that they want to ask before we end the live? I've really enjoyed it tonight. It's gone better than I expected, so thank you. Thank you for sticking around and being patient with me. I am not I'm not a technical person, shall we say. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. So the next live will be in a couple of weeks. If you've got anything that you want me to try and make, anything you want me to wrap, where am I in England? I am in Northamptonshire. So it's in the Midlands. What about yourself? Are you UK? Yeah, if you've got any questions or comments or anything that you want to sort of ask me to do, or anything that you'd like me to try and wrap or anything like that, then just let me know and we'll try and sort of put something together. I've got a whole tray of stones here, all just sort of waiting to be wrapped at the moment. So there's quite a few on there, all just sort of sitting around on my desk at the moment on my workshop. These were the other two options for today's live. So I've got a bit of Botswana and a bit of Awiki Opal. But we went for the Orbicular Jasper, just because it's different. But yeah, it's kind of like an infinity thing, isn't it? You're in Australia? Wow, northwest of England. I'm nowhere near there. I'm in the middle bit, so I'm about 60 miles north. About 60 miles north of London, in a place called Northamptonshire, which, fun fact, is the largest town in the UK. So, but yeah, wow, Australia. So glad you could be here. What a fun thing, Australia. Somewhere I have never been. Yeah. So it's interesting because when I sort of look at my subscribers and the people who are commenting quite often, I've got quite a lot of UK subscribers, which is great, but it seems to be that a lot of my audience is US, Canada, Australia. So yeah, it's tricky when arranging lives and things because obviously time zones and things. So yeah, we'll but obviously you can watch the catch up, replay, whatever, which is amazing. But I'm heading visit friend, hoping to visit my friend. You'll love it, apart from the weather maybe. But saying that, it feels a bit more like sort of Greece here today and the last few days. So our weather is, I think, famous for being a bit rubbish. But actually, I've got to defend it. Our weather is not that bad. Yes, we get rain, but actually right now it's been sort of like 33, 34 the last couple of days. Lord, the weather, a bit different from ours. Definitely a bit different from yours. But yeah, it's been about 33, 34 degrees centigrade here the last few days. It's kind of, what is it now? It's coming up to 8:30 in the evening and it's still about 25 degrees at the moment. That is pretty much our level. We can't cope with much more than that unless we're on holiday and we've got a beach and pool that we can go and chill out in. But in all fairness, you know, we are getting some really nice weather and we'll still complain about it because we're British. So rain, wind, shine, snow, whatever it is, we'll still moan. We're British. But yeah, no, God, Australian weather, yeah, that's a lot hotter. I've got a friend who lives in Texas in the US, and their temperatures there are just mind-boggling. But yeah, I think the hottest I've been in I was in Tunisia quite a long time ago now, but there was a heat wave in Tunisia and it was 51 degrees. It was unbearable. But yeah. Anyway, absolutely wonderful to have you guys chatting and joining me on the live. I've really, like I say, I really have enjoyed it. So I hope you can join me again for future ones. And if there's anything you want me to do, let me know. I will leave it there. I've been waffling on for just around an hour now. So I think it's time for me to go and get myself some dinner. But thank you so much. I hope you like this. Any comments or feedback you've got on this, or if you try this design, let me know. But otherwise, I will let you all get on with your days and evenings. and I shall see you in the next live in a couple of weeks. So take care, guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you all soon.